Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are going to take a really fascinating journey right through the heart of artificial intelligence. We so often talk about large language models, or LLMs, as these mysterious black boxes. You type a prompt in, magic happens, and boom, a perfect essay pops out. But today, we're going on a factory tour. We are going to trace the exact linear journey of a single prompt, starting from the moment raw text is ingested at the front door, all the way through the heavy machinery of the neural network to the final output generation at the shipping dock. It's a highly complex, beautifully orchestrated sequence of mathematical transformations and, honestly, some incredibly severe hardware optimizations. Okay, let's dive into this and look at our roadmap. Our factory tour has 6 main checkpoints. We'll start with translating language to tokens, then move through embeddings, the attention engine, managing memory, decoding the output, and finally, the engineering ecosystem that makes it all happen. Checkpoint 1. Translating language to tokens, the subword paradigm. So, welcome to the intake door. The very first thing we need to understand is that neural networks absolutely do not read characters or letters the way you and I do. They're massive mathematical engines, which means they strictly read numbers, specifically discrete mathematical tokens. Early models actually tried reading character by character, which was incredibly slow. Then they tried word by word, but that required an impossibly massive dictionary. So today's modern LLMs use a brilliant compromise called subword tokenization. Think of it as a hybrid algorithm. Highly frequent words remain completely intact as single atomic tokens. But rare or complex words, they get systematically decomposed into smaller, meaningful subword pieces. For example, a rare word might be dynamically split into its root and suffix. This is a total game changer because it perfectly balances a compact, memory-efficient vocabulary with an infinitely expandable linguistic space. And that is absolutely crucial for complex, agglutinative languages where giant words are formed just by stringing smaller words together. Now, there isn't just one single way to chop up these words. The industry actually relies on 3 major algorithms. First up, we have byte pair encoding, or BPE. This is used by models like Llama and GPT. It's a bottom-up approach that iteratively merges the most frequently adjacent characters based purely on raw frequency. Then there's wordpiece, which is used in BERT. It's also bottom-up, but instead of just looking at blind frequency, it calculates probability. It merges symbols only if they maximize the statistical likelihood of the training data. And finally, unigram flips the script entirely. Used in models like T5, it's a top-down approach. It starts with a massive, oversized vocabulary and progressively prunes it, throwing away tokens whose removal causes the absolute minimal loss of information. So the crucial point is that how a model chunks text introduces deep mathematical biases. Engineers call this segmentation bias. Because these token IDs dictate literally everything downstream, something as incredibly simple as a trailing space or an unexpected emoji placed right next to a word can force the tokenizer to split that word into entirely different unnatural subtokens. And adversarial users actually exploit this. By intentionally shifting token boundaries with emojis, they can completely bypass safety classifiers, those models often called judge LLMs. This causes harmful content to be totally misclassified, simply because the raw integer arrays were artificially shifted. Wild, right? All right, checkpoint 2, embeddings and weight tying, the translation department. Once our text is chopped into discrete IDs, it desperately needs translating into continuous math. This happens via the embedding layer, which acts kind of like a massive, high-dimensional lookup table. But here's the catch. This table is incredibly heavy. Just look at the Pythia 70M model. A staggering 73.4% of all its learnable parameters are just embedding matrices. That's huge. To save memory, engineers historically adopted a clever technique called weight tying. The theory was super simple. The massive input matrix used to translate discrete tokens into vectors going into the model should just share the exact same parameters as the output matrix used to translate vectors back into discrete tokens on the way out. Now, weight tying saves a massive amount of memory, for sure, but it comes with a dramatic structural trade-off. It's essentially a tug of war. The input matrix wants to create rich, fluid, semantic clusters. The output matrix, however, acts like a rigid classifier that's just trying to optimize for cross-entropy loss against its training targets. When you force them to share parameters, the output objective completely dominates the shared matrix. This gradient imbalance creates what's called unembedding bias, where the input representation severely degrades. It became such a massive bottleneck that state-of-the-art architectures like Llama 3 have completely abandoned weight tying. They decided to decouple the matrices entirely to improve downstream performance, happily eating the higher memory cost to get that better reasoning. Moving on to checkpoint 3, the core attention engine, the factory floor. This right here is where the massive shift to parallel processing happened. At its core is scaled dot product attention. Basically, the model projects inputs into queries, keys, and values. Think of a query actively searching for context, while acting as a key or a value when it's being evaluated by other tokens. The model measures how similar they are by taking the dot product of the query and key. But there is a serious mathematical trap here. As the hidden dimension scales up, the variance of that dot product increases exponentially. This causes the system to become extremely sharp and overconfident, practically halting the network's ability to learn. To stabilize this extreme variance, the dot product is brilliantly divided or scaled by the standard deviation. But even with absolutely perfect math, physically executing this on a GPU is brutal. Think of a GPU as an incredibly powerful engine that is just constantly starving for fuel. Standard attention is painfully memory-bound. It forces the GPU to constantly shuttle massive matrices back and forth between the large, but relatively slow, high-bandwidth memory, or HBM, and the ultra-fast but incredibly tiny on-chip SRAM. The highly capable arithmetic logic units literally just sit completely idle, waiting for these sluggish HBM data transfers to finish. And this brilliantly illustrates how software engineering had to swoop in and save the day. Engineers developed flash attention. Instead of writing massive matrices to the slow HBM, flash attention fragments the data into tiny blocks or tiles that fit perfectly within that ultra-fast SRAM. It fuses the matrix multiplication and softmax operations together, incrementally updating results and discarding intermediate variables without ever writing them to slow memory. From its initial launch in 2022, all the way up to Flash Attention 3 in 2024 utilizing advanced Hopper GPU features, this fundamentally bypassed the hardware memory bottleneck. A true game changer. Checkpoint 4. Managing memory and context, the warehouse. So when an LLM is actually generating text, it operates auto-regressively, meaning it predicts just one single token at a time. To avoid constantly recomputing the past, it stores historical data in what's called a KV cache. But man, it is incredibly heavy. To put that into perspective, for just a moderate context length, maintaining this historical cache for a single user request consumes over 1 gigabyte of VRAM. Just one. If you try to serve 32 users at once, you instantly need 32 gigabytes just for the cache, which will quickly crash standard enterprise GPUs. This creates a massive architectural dilemma. Standard multi-head attention assigns a dedicated key and value to every single query, which completely maxes out memory. So they tried multi-query attention to compress this by forcing all queries to share just one key and value. But actually, that aggressive compression destroyed the model's complex reasoning ability. So the perfect Goldilocks solution emerged: grouped query attention. Here, queries are divided into small clusters that share key-value pairs. It provides a massive 75% memory savings, but without sacrificing the geometric capacity required for high-level reasoning. Best of both worlds! But memory is only half the context battle. The model also has to actually understand word order. Modern LLMs do this using rotary position embeddings, or ROPE. This applies a specific geometric rotation matrix to the vectors, ensuring that nearby words have high attention potential, while distant words naturally decay. However, if you push a model past its trained context length, the rotation matrices process unseen extreme angles, causing the output to completely collapse into repetitive nonsense. To fix this and stretch these context windows to massive lengths, like 128,000 tokens, without retraining, engineers rely on advanced math like Yarn. Yarn explicitly segments frequency dimensions, dynamically scaling temperatures and frequencies so the model can perfectly recall a document that is literally hundreds of pages long. Now, what's really interesting about this is how all that beautiful math breaks down in reality. Even with Yarn, extended continuous chatbot sessions suffer from something called context rot. When a session runs for hours, the context window fills up with derivation noise, rejected ideas, hallucinatory missteps, debugging loops. Because self-attention evaluates the entire history, the sheer volume of this discarded noise mathematically overwhelms the core system prompt. The clean instruction is just lost, and the model starts drifting or repeating itself simply because the math is drowning in high-variance conversational clutter. Which brings us to checkpoint 5, decoding the final output, the shipping department. We're almost at the end. Here, dense math is finally transformed back into human text. At this stage, the model spits out raw, unnormalized scores called logits. We have to sample from these. The most rigid way is greedy decoding, where you just pick the absolute highest score every single time. But, as you can guess, this produces robotic looping text. To fix this, we use a hyperparameter called temperature. Think of it like a volume dial. By mathematically dividing the logits by a high temperature, we compress the differences between the scores, flattening the probability distribution. This encourages the model to pick less likely words, driving incredible linguistic creativity, but at the direct cost of increasing the risk of hallucinations. To prevent those high temperatures from causing total nonsense, we use truncation boundaries. Top K sampling is a very rigid approach. You set a hard algorithmic cutoff, say the top 50 tokens, and immediately discard the rest of the 256,000-word dictionary. But this inflexibility sometimes tosses out valid choices when the model is genuinely uncertain. So modern generation relies heavily on nucleus, or top P sampling. Instead of a fixed number, it dynamically captures a predefined probability mass, like 90%. If the model is super confident, that 90% might just be 2 tokens. If it's uncertain, that 90% pool dynamically expands to 100 tokens, perfectly balancing semantic coherence with linguistic variance.
Finally, checkpoint 6, the engineering ecosystem, the humans behind the math.
Let's zoom out for a second. This entire pipeline we just walked through requires a massive professional community to debug, fund, and maintain it. The global transfer of this mechanistic knowledge is highly structured, and the Scottish tech ecosystem actually provides a perfect objective example of how this operates. First, you have grassroots developers at PyData Glasgow focusing entirely on practical skills, actively sharing open source tools to visualize embedding layers and debug attention drift. Then you step up to the capital and strategic layer at Turing Fest in Edinburgh. Access there is strictly vetted, limited to around 200 founders and 100 investors. The focus is high-signal, zero-noise stress testing to figure out which of these massive architectural optimizations, like Flash Attention 3, are actually commercially viable. Meanwhile, over at the AI Standards Hub, policymakers are working alongside devs to figure out how to credibly govern and assure these extremely powerful algorithms. Which leaves us with a final, absolutely vital thought. We are currently pushing the absolute physical limits of GPU architecture and memory bottlenecks to build models that can reason across hundreds of thousands of words. But as this raw algorithmic ambition accelerates faster than ever before, the ultimate question isn't just about weight tying or dot product variance. It's whether our frameworks for global AI stewardship, technical standardization, and public assurance can truly keep pace with the machines we are building. Thank you so much for joining this explainer, and keep exploring the mechanics behind the magic.